Hey guys, Jared Krause here, and I just recorded a very powerful podcast episode with Joe Magnotti, the founder of EmpireFlippers, where they've sold over $70 million worth of websites in just a few short years, and they are the go-to website broker for people wanting to get started buying websites. Now, the reason this podcast episode is so valuable is because instead of people starting websites to start making money as a side hustle, where 90% of those startups actually fail, we talk about how to buy websites that have already passed that 90% failure rate and have a proven track record that are making money month over month. We also dive into what are some of those mistakes first-time website investors are actually making and how to avoid those mistakes ourselves. We talk about what successful transactions and successful website investors actually are doing and how we can copy those and do that for ourselves. And then we talk about how to grow these website businesses that we have just bought. So if you're looking to learn how to get some sort of a side hustle or eventually replace your income over time, because this isn't going to happen overnight, this is a very valuable podcast episode that you don't want to miss. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And today I have with me a very special man, CEO and co-founder of EmpireFlippers, Mr. Joe Magnotti. And Joe, at EmpireFlippers, you guys have been having some massive growth. Like, I've been watching you guys over the years since buying websites, and a lot of my clients are going to you guys now. And I just have to say, you've gone through and you've made over $70 million worth of sales now. You're Inc. 500 company 3 years in a row, which is excellent and super exciting. Then you got so many other awards as like business broker awards as well. And I really want to say a massive congratulations to you and the team. And also thank you so much for jumping on board and doing an episode with us.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jared. Really appreciate that. And, a lot of those things wouldn't be possible without the team that we have. And we've really built that team over the last couple of years in realizing that, hey, we can't do it all ourselves. And there's a lot of brokers out there who are one-man shops or two-man shops, and I'm sure they do a fine job. But, at EmpireFlippers, we're looking really to scale and deliver that sort of high-volume process while at the same time having a white glove approach. And I think it's fairly unique. And that's why we're able to do that is our team and obviously our customers too. So anybody who's listening out there who's a customer, thank you as well.
Yeah, awesome. And so how did you and Justin get into this gig, like brokering, and like when did it start? Like, how did you guys come about this? Because I know it started a while ago now, hey?
Yeah, no, it came from a self-need. As you know, we started out as the AdSense Flippers back in 2011. So we had a blog because we used to create our own sites. We used to create these little tiny 5-page AdSense sites back in 2011. And we had the need to kind of raise some capital in order to build more of those sites. So we went on Flippa and we would sell the sites there through an auction process. In order to raise awareness for those auctions, we started a blog and a podcast where we kind of gave away the process for free. But then buyers started coming to us and saying, hey guys, don't go on Flippa anymore because there are some big downfalls for that. We'll just sell directly on your website. And so we're like, okay, well, we avoid the success fee. We sell directly. This is awesome. But then sellers started coming to us and saying, hey, can you guys sell my site? I have a similar site. If it passes your quality inspection, can you do that? And that was kind of a light bulb moment. That was late 2012, early 2013. We renamed the company to EmpireFlippers, made a marketplace for just connecting buyers to sellers and stopped building our own sites. And just realized that a lot of the business brokers out there for online businesses were very old school. I mean, these are guys that are not using an internet marketing approach, not using technology, kind of using old school Rolodexes to match up buyers and sellers, even though it was in the online space. And so we really attacked it from an internet marketing perspective, and that was very, very new, and no one had done that. The podcast, the blog, other types of paid traffic routines, really using email marketing. Most other guys were not doing that at the time.
Yeah. I'm a testament to the email marketing. You guys send out a lot of good emails, and you guys do a lot of good blogging and great SEO work for sure. And so, yeah, congrats on building that from that. And you can see that you didn't just go away and like, hey, I'm just going to start this thing. And this is a huge lesson for everybody that wants to make money is like, you don't just go away and start something. You solve a problem, right? And you solved a problem there.
No, exactly. I mean, even though we solved our own problem, we saw that it was a problem for a lot of other people as well. And I think being able to replicate that is important. Now, it's very easy in this business to make money by doing just a few deals a year, really. And I think you could do it that way. But to create a real business is a different level, and I think that's true of just about anything. You can find a hole in a category or a niche, and go ahead and make a little money. But if you want to create a business, that takes a bit more effort and a bit more dedication. And that's what I think I would push a lot of listeners to move towards. Making money is fine, and that's great, but don't stop at that level. Go to the next thing and make sure you have something that's longer lasting.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I started to move towards this space, right? Like I tried to start my own websites and businesses to make money, and sure, I made a little bit of money, but I just didn't like. There's a 90% failure rate of all startups, right? That's the research shows, and that's why I got pushed to this space, and that's why I'm a huge advocate for those who do want to go away and like make some money online or build a portfolio of sites or whatever it is, to go away and realize like, hey, there's people out there that have built really good businesses. You can buy it, learn from them, and leverage off their hard work and build it even more. And even if you don't have the skills, you can hire a mentor or something to help you build those skills as well. And I got like so many questions for you, Joe.
Right. Go ahead.
And since we are moved into, buying the websites, like I know that I made many mistakes myself when looking and doing due diligence, and I nearly come unstuck. Luckily, I've stuck to my guns and create a really good due diligence process that I stick to and I give to a lot of my clients. And I've learned so many mistakes, but what would you say, looking at those who are first-time buyers, what sort of mistakes do they make?
Yeah, so there's two things that I always say, well, I guess three things really, first-time buyers. Number one is I would take your budget and divide by 3, okay? Look, online business investment is a risky business, and you shouldn't be using your college savings, your kids' college savings, your entire life savings to invest in these kind of things. They are inherently risky, and so therefore I think whatever budget you've set aside, let's divide by 3, so that if you don't have the ultimate success with the first one, you still have enough to buy the second one to make up for it. So that's kind of number one. What I call, from poker lingo, bankroll management is seriously important. Number 2 is criteria. We see a lot of new people come in that either have no criteria whatsoever, or have criteria so tight that they'll never find a business or listing that matches that. And so there has to be something in the middle, in the Goldilocks land. And really trying to work out what that criteria is based on your skill set, based on what you feel is going to motivate you to work on the business, based on your budget, obviously. All of these things are going to create a set of criteria that are going to help you zero down on listings. Because whatever broker you talk to is probably going to have multiple listings. I mean, at EmpireFlippers, we have more than 100 listings right now. And our sales guys are going to talk to you about your background, about your interests, about your motivations, your goals, those sort of things, in order to create a criteria for you. But if you come in with a little bit of a head start, that's going to be great, and that's going to help us focus down on that. And then the third thing, and this is something that new people miss all the time, is the paralysis through analysis. They look at a couple of listings. They get the numbers in front of them. They get all these spreadsheets and all these predictions, and oh man, they're just going over the top. And I'm like, stop. just stop a second and do a phone call with the seller. Just get on the phone with the seller. Because if the seller is an asshole, you're not going to buy from him anyway. So why go through all of these numbers and all of this stuff and all these prediction, routes and all of this research? Yeah, exactly. When you're going to talk to him on the phone, realize he's not the kind of guy you want to be in business with, and move on. So I really think that talking to people, you don't have to be, a detective. You really just need to be an honest and good person, and you'll be able to right away realize whether this is the kind of person you want to do business with. Because no matter how clean the business is and no matter how quickly the business can be transitioned to you, even if it's a small business, there's going to be some overlap where you're going to have to work with this guy and trust this guy. And that's why the seller is very, very important.
Yeah, it's like, it's the best, this is the thing that I teach my clients, is the most important thing to just get on the phone with the seller, because you can get every question you have and every worry. And if you're still worried about, the business or the investment after you've spoken to them, at least you know that you can move on. Like you say, otherwise I get in this thing like the analysis by paralysis and move into freak out mode. And it's just like, all right, why don't you just go away and ask the damn questions and realize, okay, cool, it's not the right business, and go away and look at something else and move into.
Yeah, exactly. And hearing it directly from the horse's mouth is so important as well. The broker could tell you everything that they want to tell you, but at the end of the day, you need to hear that from the seller, and you need to make sure the seller has the same information, the same story that the broker is telling you. Or the same story that the data is telling.
It's the data, yeah.
So, really doing a little bit of human on human reaction is important when buying a business.
And it's when you do that as well, and you speak to more sellers, or you speak to one or two sellers, and I noticed this for me when I first started, is you learn so much about the due diligence process. You learn so much about online businesses, and you learn stuff that these sellers have learned, and it gives you an education and more confidence moving forwards in buying more businesses. And you said, a lot of people it can be a risky business, and there are risky investments. And I hate when people say you need to risk it to get the biscuit, Joe. I'm like, guys, do you realize that, you don't have to risk it to get the biscuit, because all risk is minimized by education, right? So go away and educate yourself, and you can do that by learning this process.
Yeah, and I think the more you talk to sellers, the more you develop almost a script that you can talk to sellers over and over again, and the kind of answers you're looking for, the red flags, and that gets easily developed. If you only talk to one guy out of 10, it's hard to develop that script.
Yeah, it really is. And I have spoken to so many sellers, and I've developed my own script that I give to clients, and there's very similar questions, and the questions change depending on the business model, obviously, and depending on so many things between the business. But you can have a core list of questions that you always ask to ensure that you're like, all right, I'm happy with those answers before you move forward. And so there's some really cool things to understand is that, and this is what I find as well, is people do get into the analysis by paralysis. It's too much work, and realize they just get into freak out zone, and they get stuck in their head. Like Tony Robbins says, if you're stuck in your head, you're dead. So what do you see, what does normally a good buyer look at first when they're coming to do their due diligence? Like if they're going to go away and look at a business, I know for myself and what I do when I teach, what I go away and grab, I want this data, this information before I jump on the phone with the seller. What do you see is like the best sort of purchases move towards and gravitate towards in their due diligence process first?
Yeah, so obviously the first is going to be profitability. Is the business profitable, and is it reasonably, predictably profitable in the future? So, we only sell profitable businesses at EmpireFlippers, and I think that that's probably a good place to start. Anyone who's looking at unprofitable businesses, there are value in unprofitable businesses. There are plenty of unicorns out there in Silicon Valley, and there are plenty of smaller businesses that have value to strategic buyers or other types of buyers that are unprofitable. But for the vast majority, especially new people, please stay out of the unprofitable businesses. It's just not worth it, and you really need to be more of an expert to go there. The second part of that would be predictable profits. And what I mean by that is do they have a process, a consistent process for getting in new sales, whatever that might be? For an affiliate business, does the traffic come in automatically? Do they rank fairly well in Google? Do they have some sort of paid traffic scheme? The same kind of thing for a physical product business. Do they have employees or contractors that work on the business that kind of minimize the amount of time that you as the owner will have to work? You might have to still put in 5 or 10 hours a week, but you want to know that this machine is predictably going to run without the old owner and going to make that sort of same profit. If it's seasonal, can you predict that the seasons are going to be in regular cycles? Or is it more of a fad and it's just kind of fading out? That's kind of thing you'd have to worry about in terms of profitability. And so things like this, I think, are really important to look at as a first-time buyer to make sure you're not getting a lemon.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that if anybody's watched my content, listened to my content, wherever it is, I'm always speaking about, and this is why I push a lot of people to different places, like different brokers, like EmpireFlippers, especially. Most of my clients come to you guys, right, and buy businesses from EmpireFlippers. There's one guy, and I want to talk about one of the purchases that one of the guys made soon, because I want to ask you if you're seeing that type of deal regularly, and if it's, I think it's a pretty cool process for buyers and sellers for that sort of deal that we'll talk about. But I noticed you mention when you're first getting into this, look at businesses that are profitable and buy profitable businesses. Rather than there's so many marketplaces out there that do sell websites. They don't sell businesses, right? And, yes, like you said, there are some diamonds in the rough there, and I bought great businesses from those after the fact that I've learned how to buy profitable businesses, like you said. So I once had a lady message me, and she said, "Jared, I want to buy this really good business. Can you just let me know if it's good?" Which is obviously the dumbest thing to do anyway, is just outsource your due diligence process to somebody and expect that they're going to tell you everything is perfect. But the business, she was going to buy it off Gumtree, which is like a place where you can buy, you sell your old goods in Australia. And it's kind of like eBay, but it was for sale for I think it was $15,000. And she said, it's for $15,000, it's making $12,000 a month. I'm going to buy it. What do you think? And I just wrote back to her, said, do not buy this at all, in capitals, because the numbers don't add up. Who the hell is going to buy something that's $15,000 and make almost 100% ROI in a month and a half?
Yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, right? And typical multiples in the profitable range are running anywhere from, at the very lowest, a year and a half or 18 months, as we like to say at EmpireFlippers, to as much as 4 to 5 years of net profit. And so it really depends on a lot of factors in between. We have a valuation tool at EmpireFlippers, which I encourage anyone to check out and plug some numbers in and get some valuations. But the key thing is that no one is doing less than a year. That's just unheard of, and it means that there should be some real red flags there, because there's no reason why a seller would do that. I mean, just think about it. Why would they give it up for less than a year's worth of profit unless they really had some other idea in mind? Now, could there be some reasons? Sure. If they were holding back some equity, they were selling to a strategic buyer who was going to grow the business significantly in the first year. If they had some other terms in the deal, perhaps. But other than that, standard sort of, buy the entire business, online, profitable business, no way it's going to go less than, even less than 2 years is very, very rare.
It's so rare. And that word rare is a very key word because they are out there, but you need to be looking on like all of the marketplaces every single day to find these. Like I've got a client who, like some of the guys that are watching this or listening to this have seen some case studies from my guys that have bought multiples lower than that average, but they are looking like 24/7, and it's been a deal where like the rarest case where the guy didn't even know that Empire Flippers existed and didn't even know that they could come and sell from you guys, and you know, and was like in a desperate situation where they had the business. It was they started with a partner, and you know the boyfriend and girlfriend broke up, and they're just like, a desperate situation.
See, that's where I would say desperate situations. And if you're a first-time buyer, or even if you're just a beginner buyer who's bought maybe one business before, something like that, stay out of desperate situations, because desperate situations lead to bad businesses getting sold to you. You want the kind of seller who, although he's selling the business, he wants the business to continue to grow, or he at least reasonably considers that the business is going to continue to grow. Maybe he needs the money because of some life event or some other project that he's moving on to. But, you know, when you get into these kind of sellers who are very desperate to sell because of some action on the back end, that raises a lot of red flags for me as well.
Yeah, it does. And it depends on how long they've been desperate for as well. So there's a deal that happened, I think it was like Winch World or something like that, that one of my guys didn't buy the whole business from you, but it worked out a really good deal where it's a 50-50, sort of bought 50% equity into the business and is leveraging off the old owners or the previous owners' knowledge in how they built the business and ways they can scale it and grow it, and has injected some fresh blood, should I say, into the business for them to grow it together. Now, that was, for me, I thought that was a really good way to go about it, and build a partnership, and then they can go away and do more of this sort of stuff or build this business bigger. Now, I wanted to ask you, Joe, like, are you seeing more of this happen? Like, is this starting to become more regular?
Yeah, I mean, great question, Jared. Look, we do a lot of strange structures at EmpireFlippers. Because, when you start to get over about $100,000 deal, I mean, there's a lot of money flowing back and forth. And sometimes it's rare for an individual investor to have all that cash readily available. Or maybe they want to leverage their cash, right? So, on the smaller deals, no. They tend to be typically all cash, simple transfer, nothing special. Between maybe $100,000 and $300,000, it's maybe 25% of the time there tends to be some sort of earnout or a holdback structure where there's equity, a loan from the seller, something like that. Over $300,000 is where you really start to see that happen a lot more. And that's where a lot of these deals tend to come up. And it's good for the buyer and it's good for the seller, because the buyer mitigates his risk. We talked a little bit before about these online businesses are inherently more risky than, if you were buying a manufacturing plant that owned real estate and machinery and stuff like that. I mean,
inventory.
There are tangible assets that can be liquidated in the case of some sort of default. With online businesses, you tend not to have that unless you have inventory or something like that. So if people can have some sort of holdback on the buy side, they feel like their risk is a bit more mitigated, and that's a good thing for them. On the sell side, if you are want to get more than your list price, I mean, you have a number of options here, which are, number one, you charge an interest rate on the money that you're financing to the buyer, essentially.
So it's called seller financing, isn't it?
Seller financing, exactly. Or if you have an equity stake and, let's say you were going to be a 20% owner long term, if you believe that the buyer has the ability to grow that business, well, then you can make a much bigger stake on the other exit in 2 years or something like that. And what we do a lot of times is we inherently build into these agreements a buyout clause that says the buyer must either sell the business or buy the seller out at X multiple in 2 or 3 years, so that this way the seller does have some exit in mind down the line.
Yeah. And I like to say this, the more you can be creative, not just, and the key word here being creative is not just as the seller, but also the purchaser, the more money you can actually make. And that's like a metaphor for life, right?
Yeah, it is. And this is why I think, a lot of people try to do this, to try to approach this industry on their own. They say, well, why do I need a broker? Because brokers, we have a lot of experience putting these kind of complex deals together. And if you don't have that experience, you might not even know that these kind of deals are available, that these kind of deal structures are available to you. So I highly encourage you to check out brokers, and not only because they've vetted some of the best listings out there and some of the best businesses, but they also can help you during the negotiation stage, which, especially for a newbie, can be quite cumbersome. This is not just a pick a price and let's bargain. This is not fish bargaining. You're not going out to the market. Yeah, you're not going out to the market and saying, oh, $1? No, 50 cents, 75 cents. It's not like that. This is actual business negotiation. And in business negotiation, you have to give something up to get something. And it can become very complex unless you know your way around the table.
And you can't do that when, you can't bargain when these businesses actually have value. Like when you're like trying to pick up something from the fish market or, bid something real low, you're just saying that this isn't valuable. But the fact is that the seller's just going to go, like, are you crazy? Like this, I'll just go sell it to somebody else. And a thing that I just mentioned and I heard you mention that I picked up is that for first time buyers, like going to, and this is, if you look back to my stuff that I recorded like years ago, is like first timers shouldn't be going and just going out into the wild, wild west into these marketplaces that are just selling millions of different businesses at different prices that have been around for like 3 months or whatever. It's like, go to the broker, like I said before, get the education in knowing how to speak to sellers, due diligence, all that sort of stuff. And brokers play a very important place in the market because they have their reputation at stake, and they're not, you guys have your reputation at stake. You don't want to go and start selling dud crappy businesses because you're not going to be around very long. And that's a testament to like EmpireFlippers and different brokers that have been around for quite a while, and that's why they're growing so much, is because they have, their reputation at stake and they're selling good businesses. Otherwise you guys wouldn't have made that growth in the last, what has it been, 7 or 8 years now?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Jared. And you're right. I mean, there are a lot of fly-by-night people who come in and exit this business quite quickly because they don't build the reputation that somebody like us has. And I think that, especially for first-time buyers or even intermediate buyers, I would say, working with a broker is good. But on the high end, we have the sort of portfolio buyers that are repeat buyers, and that makes up 40 to 50% of our buyers are these sort of high-end portfolio buyers that have millions and millions of dollars and buy, once every 3 months or even more often than that. And they work with us a lot because they love the deal flow that we can bring in. They know the deal flow that we bring in is very high quality, and they've tried replicating it themselves, and they just can't do it. So they say, well, you know what? We'll just leave it to them. We'll go to them for the good deals and kind of price it into our structure, and it works out.
Yeah, because it's kind of like if you're investing in real estate, which is the same as buying a business pretty much, but instead of buying physical property, you're buying digital property, is that when these people that are regularly buying digital property from you guys, is they're pretty much not just paying like you as a broker, but it's like you're pretty much an acquisition agent really for these guys and finding that deal flow. So it's really cool. And whilst we're on, you go.
Yeah, so I mean, I used to be a mortgage broker back in the day, so I can tell you that yes, the industries have very big similarities. And yeah, if I was a commercial real estate broker, I could see why someone would want to work with me rather than try to source their own deals. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people out there doing that. And what we tend to find is that they actually wind up turning that over to us because they want us to vet the deals. They get, sometimes they get too much stuff coming in and they just don't even know how to sort through it. I have a whole dedicated team of vetting people that all they do is look at new deals every day that come in. We reject about 2/3 of the deals that don't meet our qualifications, and then they come up with a price structure that's agreeable to the seller and agreeable to our marketplace. And so between getting all the documents verified and in place, coming up with a price, making sure the seller is a reasonable person, having all these things checked off on the list and before we put them on the marketplace is a big step. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot goes into that.
Yeah, massive. And if you are just buying a business yourself, a lot goes into your due diligence, let alone having a team that you guys have to do it all. And whilst we're talking about some of the stuff that you guys do, you guys have some pretty cool stuff coming out, and some changes you're making to your platform. And I went through and had a bit of a look, bit of a sticky beak in the early bird sort of stages of it. And yeah, tell us more about the cool stuff that you're actually wanting to implement to help make your platform far better.
Yeah, so the new Empire Flippers is on the way, and we really realized that we don't have a good customer experience at Empire Flippers. What I mean is, sure, obviously our people are very well dedicated to that, but we don't have a UI UX sort of interface at Empire Flippers. There's nothing to log into. There's no dashboard. All the communication is done via email, and Zendesk essentially. We send everything in plain text, and our website, for what it's worth, which is pretty good, I think, is just all built on WordPress. So, excuse me.
You're up.
So what we decided to do was build a platform that people could log into, that people could do their due diligence on, and all the information would be sent via this custom platform. And sellers would have a dashboard where they could track the success of their listing, like how many people are looking at their listing, how many people are no longer interested in their listing. Buyers would have a real marketplace to kind of keep all the due diligence documents in and track everything in a more kind of convenient manner. And we would be able to communicate with customers better. And so the first version of this platform is coming out in September of this year. Very, very excited about it. And, it's been a long time coming. I've been thinking about doing something like this for almost 3 years now. I've really just started. We started in July of last year. We hired the vice president of engineering and James Andrews, who's been, stellar, great guy, and a key person to get this thing rolling. But building a system like this is not easy. It takes a long time, and I'm very, very excited about getting it out there and seeing the feedback out in the wild.
Yeah, we're excited to see it. I'm excited to jump in, and I've had a bit of a sticky beak, but I'm excited to see it live and have some clients come in and suss it out too. Yeah,
we're really going to encourage feedback because I don't know what I don't know until I launch it, and we see what's missing and we see what we need to work on. So I encourage people to give us that sort of critical feedback. I really do think that there's nobody out there with a full-fledged platform like this. Obviously, you have some people who have maybe something to log into, but it's very simple and not full-fledged. This is going to be more like a full-fledged platform that eventually, will pull all the data in automatically and have a lot of sort of automated features attached to it.
Yeah, and with those different features and everything, it's going to make things so much easier for beginners when they're starting and they've got everything in one place and learning. And I wanted to ask you, here you go.
Yeah, no, I think it's also going to make it really easy for intermediate and advanced people as well, because the intermediate and advanced guys, a lot of times they're buying more than one business. And, they're these repeat buyers. And these are the guys that are struggling with kind of being organized, right? You send them an email on one listing, Then they say, well, I want to take a look at this listing. You send them an email on that one. And 10 emails later, they're all kind of confused. Well, I don't remember what listing was which, right? And if they have a nice platform where they can pick through all the documents, have a visual representation right there on screen, everything is cloud-based. We'll have a mobile app as well, so they'll be able to see it on their phone and show investors or other executives in their team on the move. I think that's key. And so, it's going to help the introductory and sort of newbies, but it's also going to help the advanced users as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know for my clients that when they're looking at multiple listings, we have a special tool that we use for, keeping everything in place and keeping that organization. So this is going to be a really cool thing.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things at EmpireFlippers is we do a lot of deals. We do more than 30 deals a month, which is more than any other broker out there, especially when you consider that our average deal size is more than $100,000. That just means that we're kicking ass when it comes to quantity. And this platform is really going to help us be more efficient, and it's going to help our customers communicate with us better.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to make it's going to be so much more user friendly, keeping everything in one spot. Be the one stop shop really. And I wanted to ask, whilst I didn't want to forget about it, because it's going to be for all different levels, but for beginners, and especially if they're going to use this tool, and use you guys, and maybe even just use different brokers, whatever, but they're just starting to get to it. Like, would you have a top 3 sort of tips that you would give somebody that's like coming to the market or just found out about, like, this is what I normally do is I go, hey, look, you can buy websites, you can look at, go look at EF and go look at these guys and learn a little bit about it. And those guys who just come to you guys, like, what would you say the top 3 tips are that they should be learning before they start buying those websites?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I would say is to make sure that you know how to run the business. And the easiest way to know how to run the business is to kind of set up a website yourself. So, an easy tip here would be, if you're buying a WordPress-based site, go ahead and set up a WordPress site. It doesn't have to be, it could be a personal blog. It could be just an example blog or something like that, just so you have a little bit of familiarity with the technology. If you're buying a Shopify store, same kind of thing. Set up a free Shopify store and just see how it works, how the menus and stuff like that are happening. If you're buying an FBA business, set up a Seller Central account. Do you have an Amazon Seller Central account? Do you know how to order inventory and stuff like that? There are a lot of courses you can take out there on how to build your own site. And while I do think there's a lot of value in buying your business because you get a huge head start, I think building your own site to begin with a little bit gives you some familiarity with how the technology works and how the lingo works, how different aspects of the marketing work and whatnot. So that's what I would encourage a lot of brand new people to do. And we do that a lot at EmpireFlippers. When we get people that just have absolutely no idea, even if they have money, we say, hey, look, let's take a month, set up a site, make sure you're familiar with the technology first, and then let's come back and buy. We're in no rush. We have a lot of deals going through.
Exactly.
We don't need to take your money and give you a business that you can't run, because I think that would be
bad for everybody.
It's bad for everybody, exactly.
Yeah. So that's a huge one, is platform familiarity, really.
Yeah.
And whilst it is WordPress and Shopify are pretty simple, and FBA and all that sort of stuff, it's not going to take people too long to really wrap their head around it. And I mean, you could spend like you say, a month, a couple of weeks, whatever it is, and it's free. It's a pretty cool way to go. So what other sort of tips do you think would be important for first-time buyers? Say they've set up the site, anything within due diligence, or what they should be looking out for, really?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about EmpireFlippers is there's no outright scams. We don't have that problem because we do a lot on the vetting angle of filtering that out before you even see it. But yeah, I mean, making sure that you know who you're doing business with, I think is important. We do some basic checks on the seller to make sure they are who they say they are. But if you're buying from another place, I would absolutely make sure that the seller is who he says he is by getting some identification, that kind of thing, before you get to the later stages, so that this way you're dealing with a real person. Another thing would be definitely if you're working with a broker, getting the right sort of testimonials. Any good broker worth his salt is going to have those. So go ahead and take a look at that. Make sure that they've worked with other people before and that they have a high bar for success. We can provide a great list of buyers that bought from us repeatedly that you could call. Not only, we have a nice video for you to watch, but like you could actually contact these people and find out more information. So I think that that's pretty important as well, rather than just having some sort of testimonial on the website where you don't really know who they are. It's John Smith. Okay, well, who is that, and can I contact that person? So doing a little due diligence on the broker as well, it would be helpful from a starter point of view.
Yeah, that's really cool. And there's some things that I teach as well is like proof the person actually exists. And you can do that for everybody listening. You can do that by jumping on Facebook, jumping on LinkedIn, checking out their name, going into like whois.net sort of thing, looking at and finding different tools. There's so many different tools out to look at domain ownership. And sometimes it's hidden, but then you can even ask, hey, Joe, or, you're not an actual speaking to guys one-on-one, but you're like, hey, can I get proof of domain ownership or that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. We provide that all that stuff up front. But I think it's important that you're right. I mean, if someone has an online business, they're going to have some information about them online. If they don't have anything, they don't have a Facebook page, they don't have LinkedIn, they don't have Twitter, they have nothing about them online, I don't know. That would be a red flag for me. It's very, very rare that we see that. Sometimes in the affiliate space, we will see guys that are like a ghost online because they don't want anyone copying them or coming after them, kind of thing. But it's extremely rare nowadays.
Everybody's online. Everybody's got a profile or something somewhere. And then also checking out the reviews of different brokers is a huge one. That's not the stuff that I've really talked about, but you can go away and there's heaps of YouTube videos of like, I achieved this or this failed on this platform that I bought this, and it gives you a better knowledge base on how that sort of broker has been operating.
Yeah, I mean, every broker is going to have their successes and failures.
Exactly.
No one's going to be 100%. And any broker who says I am 100%, I would ditch that guy in a second. But if you look at the sort of reviews and things that we have about EmpireFlippers online, I think you'll see the vast majority is positive and really good stuff going on. So I encourage you to do a lot of research on your broker and make sure you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's exactly like when you're looking at staying in an Airbnb or some sort of hotel. You look at the reviews and there's always going to be somebody that said, I didn't get my breakfast and it was too cold.
Yeah, and so here's something I would also say when you're dealing with a broker. If a broker provides data, ask him how he got that data. So if he says, the average multiple is this, and you say, well, how did you get that data? And a lot of guys won't have an answer for that. They'll say, well, I scraped it from, every other business broker's website. Well, how do you know that they're, producing the correct results? You don't. And so at EmpireFlippers, we only depend on our own numbers. We don't go to other brokers' websites and try to scrape their numbers because we don't know if those listings are high quality. We don't even know if they're real. I mean, there are a lot of brokers out there who will, half of their listings are fake. They just try to fake the numbers. And so that they say, well, I had $50 million listing and it makes me look so big and important. but really, I want you to buy the $200,000 site, right? And so we know that that's out there and that's happening. And I think anybody who's a little bit smarter and does their own due diligence on the broker, once they start asking questions about how the numbers were come up with and how the data was derived, they'll see that a lot of these guys don't have it. And at Empire Flippers, like I can drill down through a huge spreadsheet of stuff and show you the data and show you how many deals we've done in order to produce that kind of results.
Yeah, it's so important to get proof of data. And even when I speak to sellers, or I tell my clients speak to sellers, like get like their like do a screen share with them of like, here's my financials, screen share with like log into Shopify, log into WordPress, log into wherever it is that you're making the money, and get a screen share or viewers access to the whatever it is.
Yeah, when you're talking to sellers, that's absolutely true. And also try to go off script. Don't let them lead you by the nose and say, oh, this is where this is, this is where this is. Go off script and say, hey, can you show me this? Can you go back to that? And that will provide a sense of security that you are getting what you need to get.
That's a huge tip. And this is why I say to speak to more sellers, look at lots of listings and get really good at your due diligence process and all that sort of stuff, because it's going to allow you to get the confidence to go, oh, well, I really need to see this. Can you show me this on this tab? And then you have the information and think before you jump on the call, have the absolute essentials that you need to know before you get off the call for it to be a success and for you to make a yes or no decision before you get off. Otherwise, you're still going to get into that mode that we talked about before, right? Paralysis by analysis.
Exactly.
Yeah. So attractive buyers. I know that you guys are looking for attractive buyers, people that have gone away and looked at some sort of platform familiarity, that sort of stuff. Kind of want to finish up with knowing what are you guys looking for in attractive buyers? Like what are some of the qualities that you're looking for in somebody that wants to buy a site? Because there's so many people that those smaller listings that sell from like the 20 grand or the 15 to 30 grand get sold within 24 hours kind of thing.
So I definitely don't need any more buyers at that level. I mean, the small businesses, they just sell very quickly. And even I would say, 30 to 100, they don't stick around very, very long either. I still don't want to discourage anyone who may be listening to this to come to EmpireFlippers and take a look, because we can show you how to get faster at that and go ahead and acquire that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think like we were talking about before, having a base of skills in order to be able to run these businesses, that's attractive to me as a buyer. Number two, being liquid in some way. Sometimes we get buyers that come to us, Jared, and they read a book, and the book said that they could buy a business for 0% down. And, I'm not going to say what this book is, but it may have its place in the brick and mortar sort of society where they're buying a dry cleaner or some sort of distressed asset that's like, a pizza parlor where nobody's showing up anymore and the seller really wants out. We don't sell those kind of businesses at EmpireFlippers, and so people that are looking for 0% down deals, I just don't want to talk to them. So you have to be liquid in some manner, and you have to be willing to put some skin in the game in order to buy a business at EmpireFlippers. So that's really number two. And then number three is the ability to listen. And this is important, I think, because we've done a lot of deals at EmpireFlippers. We've done 273 deals in 2018. We've done more than 100 deals already this year. We're on our way to do 350. So, we do a lot of deals, and we have a lot of experience with that. And sometimes we come in and people are adamant about the way they want the deal to go or something like that. And I understand that having some basic criteria is good, but if you don't listen to the experts and you're not willing to learn, it's going to be very, very hard to get a deal done. And so, just having an open mind, I think, a little bit, especially if you just have some natural goals, we can sort of direct you in the right way. Whereas if you're way too specific and too concrete, it can be tough to find a really good business for you.
That's a huge one, is to actually be teachable. Like if you're coming to the game and you're like buying your first 2 to 3 businesses, like how crazy is it, or how dumb do you need to be to go, oh no, I know what I'm doing kind of thing, and let your ego get in the way? Like there's people that out there that like, you can listen to Joe, you can listen to me, you can listen to so many other people out there that have got so much experience, and you're just, that ego is stopping you from getting the success that you really need, because you might go away and do a bad deal, or you might go away and just, I know it all, and get stuck. And that's a huge thing, Joe, and I really do appreciate that. And so, Joe, like where can everybody go away and find out more about, you know, what you do? And yeah, obviously we know, but yeah.
Yeah, obviously coming to EmpireFlippers.com. We have a podcast and a blog that are extremely popular and are good for learning, you know, everything from not only buying and selling online businesses, but just online business in general. We talk about a lot of those topics on our podcast. I encourage people to check that out. You know, we're on all the major sources of the podcast there. The blog is great in terms of industry data, you know, training, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, set up a call with one of our brokers. They'll walk you through the listings. If you come to the website and you give us your email address, you're going to get a link to set up a call, and they will walk you through that and go over your criteria and help you make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. I love it. Thanks so much. And Joe, thank you so much for jumping on. Thanks for the episode. For everybody who's listening, thank you for listening as well. Please go away, like and subscribe. And if you did like this, please go away and leave me a review on iTunes and let me know what you liked about it, so I can bring more of that stuff to the episode. If you want to know more about my sort of stuff, you can easily go to my site, buyingonlinebusiness.com. And I look forward to speaking to you all of you guys soon.